I'm clearly naive. I just didn't even know about these courses. Some of us have been invited on the courses where you can learn about driving better and avoid 3 points on your licence. But we don't mind that so much. We can see what the objective is. There's a total absence of process. Thank goodness it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing about a driving course, and I'm hoping to be invited on one myself shortly, having received a letter through the post. The thing about that is speeding is an absolute offence. There is no defence against it. You are banged to rights. You shouldn't break the law. You break the law, that's it. In this case, there was no law breaking at all. There was an allegation of law breaking by the police, but they weren't entirely sure which law it was that Mr. Brady had broken, and then treated the law like a pick and mix store where they just picked a little bit of this and a little bit of that and tried to convince him that he'd committed a crime, but they would downgrade the crime to a non-crime if he were to hand over £60 and go on one of these re-education courses. Mr. Brady wisely declined their offer, contacted the Bad Law Project, and that's why we turned up ready for them with our cameras waiting to confront the idiots.
Harry, I think I'm right in saying I know I'm right in saying you're a former police officer yourself. You know the way the police hierarchy works. You know the way that it gets quite political the higher up the food chain you get. If you want to be a chief constable, you've got to play the game, haven't you? And I'm struck. I just wonder whether you perhaps see the shifting sands of power dynamics a little bit. What on earth am I talking about? I'm talking about Chief Constable Stephen Watson, who's the new boss of Greater Manchester Police. You know, the coming force, you could argue, really turning around a struggling force, back to basics and all that sort of stuff, but also saying, I've got no time for all this hate crime incident stuff. I've got no time for all this virtue posturing. I just want to solve crimes, actually.
Yeah, well, he actually made a bang when he was appointed as the Chief Constable. He was asked whether or not he would take the knee, because he was in the middle of the Black Lives Matter stuff. And he said he would take the knee to God, the Queen and his wife. That was it. That is the kind of senior police officer we want. Somebody who recognises that virtue signalling is not the job of a senior chief constable. The job of chief constable is to make sure that the Queen's peace is upheld, that the law is enforced and that criminals are caught. It most definitely is not to find law-abiding citizens and invite them with a shakedown to attend a re-education course. That is what happened during the reign of the Stasi. We don't want a Stasi in this country, and during the Bad Law Project exists to ensure that we do not have a Stasi or a Checker or a Gestapo.
Harry Miller, how did this happen? 12 years of Conservative government, the party of law and order, a party you'd expect to be concerned about solving burglaries and making sure muggers don't get away with it, instead draping itself in a sort of metaphorical, mile-wide pride flag.
Yeah, it's happened because Priti Patel, currently the Home Secretary, repeated Home Secretaries, have washed their hands of policing. They've no interest in policing. They all know it's wrong. They watched what happened to me when the police came to check my thinking. I got loads of private support from the Home Office. I also saw that they cheered when I eventually won. But that's no excuse. They should have been there doing their job. They should have been there standing up to the plate and bringing the police back into line. It's entirely unfair that a private citizen should have had to do that. Now, we're getting organised, and the Bad Law Project is going to do the job of the Home Secretary until the Home Secretary gets the courage to do it herself. So we will continue to launch ourselves at police forces to drag them into line. Whenever a police force oversteps the mark, they run the very real risk that myself and Lawrence Fox and members of the Bad Law Project will be there to haul them over the coals. We will spring from the kitchens. We will leap from the rooftops. We will jump from the bushes. And we will say, you will not treat people with contempt. You will not treat the law with contempt.
And you'll film the whole thing and post it for millions of people to watch. You know, that's
absolutely
what we can do with technology now.
But this is open justice.
Yeah, and how many, in terms of the iceberg? I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people who get an email however the police make contact with you and say, we think we've had a complaint, we think you've been misogynistic or transphobic online, we're coming to pay you a visit. I'm guessing the vast majority of them are pretty plugged into the cyber public square. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe actually 9/10 of them don't know you exist and can help them.
Well, they should know that we exist, and the police should. They've no business getting involved in anything that does not involve a crime. You mentioned misogyny. The police have no interest in misogyny. They've never had any interest in misogyny. They've no interest in women. They can't even define what a woman is. You look at the 5 monitored strands of the College of Policing, women aren't on there, in spite of the fact that 2 women a week are murdered by men. So the police have no interest in misogyny, regardless of what they say of late. But you shouldn't be getting any form of email or any form of intervention from the police officer absent of a crime. It's as simple as that. They are not social engineers. They are police officers.